Stuart, you often talk about drawing the energy from the hara to the base of the spine. Is there ever a time where the energy goes the other direction?
Yes, yes. There's a whole path of energy that moves down the spine, from the base of the spine to the sexual area, to the hara, and really up again. You know, uh, it's it's the energy of healing. It's the energy of kind of transcendent. It's a very powerful energy that that can be used when one actually works to heal somebody. I mean, whatever it might sound like, it's basically the soul of the universe coming into our bodies. And, when we give birth to children, it's how the soul, unifies with the egg in a woman's womb. That energy moves down the spine through and into giving birth. It gives birth to us. It heals us. So it's a different kind of flow of energy. It makes it possible for the other flow of energy to activate Kundalini and to really bring us to a higher plane of consciousness. We need to be healed. Most of meditation is about healing all the pain that has happened to us in life. And that's one of the ways it works. The energy will move down the spine, and go in the opposite direction. And as it moves into the sexual area, the hara, the heart chakra, it really heals us, creates a wholeness inside us. So, it's really an important aspect of inner work and meditation. One that I don't talk about enough because it's really an important element to it. And of course, this works as, it's a funny kind of orchestra that we play inside ourselves. We've got to be centered and balanced. We've got to draw energy through the sex. We have to activate Kundalini. We have to allow energy to connect with the universal soul. And then the energy returns. You understand? And when it returns and flows down the spine, it becomes a healing energy that really helps us create a wholeness inside, overcome all of the problems we have, the tensions we have, the insecurities we have. It's difficult to explain, but somehow the way I've experienced through the years that it works that way. So you have two things going on. One is the activation of Kundalini, so we can connect the soul with God. The other one is receiving the energy from the universe, allowing it to flow through our system again. And it can come back and flow down the spine. It can also flow from chakra to chakra, healing us inside, getting us stronger and stronger inside, so that ultimately we attain a state of enlightenment. Don't try to think about this because it's not something you can think about. It's something that you truly experience as you evolve and grow. It's an organic process. It's like everything else I talk about. When I talk about mudra and I talk about healing, and these are things that you can't analyze in your brain. They just happen. They just happen to you as you grow and develop a system inside. And the wonderment of what we do is that it's really 95% experiential, not something that we can figure out in the brain. These things just happen. The hands become healing instruments. It just happens. It's not something that you can analyze and figure out and read in a book and then just do. It's something that happens as an extension of one's inner growth. The same way that energy that flows down the spine is an extension of one's inner growth. And I think that's the wonderful thing about this meditation. It's all experiential. It's not analytical. It doesn't make any sense logistically. It's experiential. Suddenly we evolve to a place where our chemistry is ready to experience the astral plane, the, higher consciousness, transcending time. This is all experiential, which makes it really powerful. The same thing with drawing energy down, in the reverse process. It's experiential. And when these things happen, they teach us about how essential it is to not allow the mind interfere with the growth process that takes place inside a human being. I mean, it's really weird. It's almost surreal, all this stuff. It's, but it just manifests, and it gives us a capacity on a whole different realm of consciousness. And one of the most important things it gives us is just the ability to see what is real in life and what is an illusion in life. What's transitional and what is permanent and real in our inner growth, in our connection with spirit, with God. And none of this is stuff I've ever been able to understand. I mean it. It's just become living experience. And I used to hear Rudy talk very similarly, that it's living experience. Because the logic of God, of spirit, of infinite energy is a completely different logic of the logic that we have on the earth. The logic that's used every day on the earth. This is a whole other energy. It's beyond comprehension. And because of that, it is constantly bringing to us creative energy of a transcendental nature that we can use in our daily lives. It's a wonderment. It's a wonderful thing. And it frees us of ourselves, having to understand something because we can put them in some kind of conceptualized box that somehow makes sense in our brain. And frankly, my experience of life, it has never made any sense what goes on here. And that drove me to learn how to surrender in enough depth that I can begin to allow this higher logic, this higher energy to function in my system and to trust it and to allow it to take me to a place where you cut through that veil of Maya that we live with every day, that veil of illusion, where you can do things that are kind of sacred, they're not kind of, they are sacred. Because you've cut through the veil of illusion and you've gone to a much higher plane of consciousness. So it's the same thing with that energy moving down the spine. It's not something I can diagram. It's not something I can logically explain in terms of any language on the earth. It's something that just happens because we have opened enough in ourselves to allow that energy to work that way. And it really happens and heals us on a very high level, psychically, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? For the last week or so, the questions I'm being asked have gotten to it's a much higher plane of talking about things, and I don't want anyone to get confused here because the whole purpose of all this is to be able to assimilate it inside and allow it to function for us on a very practical level. And the first level of practicality is just being able to see what's real in life and what is an illusion. And I've always said, to me, what is real is what helps me get closer to God. Not what makes me feel better or feel good or that kind of thing, but really makes me work in myself, to get answers from a higher plane of consciousness. Those have always been the most real elements of my life. And the things that have helped me to cut through all the illusion and this dreamlike kind of substance that we call the external world. And that doesn't take anything away from life, because it's an important way of getting detachment and learning how to love, God's manifestation in the world, learning how to recognize it as an incredible teacher. We need that kind of detachment to be able to see life this way, because it is really sacred. What creates the illusion is the mind gets in the way and conceptualizes everything according to any human being's level of understanding. And, anyone's level of understanding is about 2% of what exists in the universe. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Just recognizing that everything in life is sacred, is a manifestation of God. In order to recognize this, one has to get completely past all of the conceptualized ideas we have inside ourselves. We have to get back to a state of surrender inside, letting go of just about everything, to be able to recognize how sacred everything is on this planet, and to stop judging and to stop being angry at things and people, and to learn how to live that way requires a very deep level of surrender. And the only person who keeps us from recognizing the sacred nature of life is ourselves. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I hope this is clear. I know it's a little metaphysical and abstract, but what makes it clear is just allowing that energy to become a practical part of our life, transforming ourselves so that we recognize the sacred nature of everything that manifests in us. And everything is just a manifestation of God. It's all sacred. And it becomes that way when we recognize that all of life is our teacher. It is teaching us exactly what we have to learn to build an inner life that enables us to connect with higher energy in the universe. We live at the center of creation. Every human being lives at the center of creation. And that's extraordinary. Now, our job is to recognize this, to be able to see this, and to learn how to live this way. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay. So there'll be a meditation on Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in class. And Take this home, work on this. Teach yourself how to go deep enough. The need has to take you deep enough to surrender to a point where everything around you becomes sacred. Your mind is no longer, and emotions are no longer interfering with the sacred nature of life. And then you receive knowledge, you get wisdom, love, passion, joy, happiness. All of that comes once we get past ourselves. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, well, there'll be meditation on Tuesday. And again, thank you and bless you all for being here. You certainly are a sacred people in my life. And I'm very grateful to be able to sit here and do this and to, transmit whatever comes through to help all of us maybe get to a place where we can do these things that come through that, it's not even me talking, it's this energy that is trying to guide people to a much deeper place in themselves. So bless you all and thank you. And there'll be a class on Tuesday and I hope everyone comes. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful evening, day, morning, wherever you are.